Men, let's get one thing straight from the very beginning. The secret to entering a woman's mind and never leaving has nothing to do with chasing her, begging for her love, or drowning her in desperate attention. The truth is actually the opposite. Women forget the man who gives everything away too easily, who bends over backwards, who places her on a pedestal while lowering himself in the process. But the man who learns the art of restraint, who embodies self-control, who lives with unshakable purpose, that man becomes unforgettable. And today, through the lens of Stoicism, I'm going to reveal how to enter her mind so deeply that she carries your presence with her everywhere she goes, without you ever having to beg, plead, or compromise your masculine strength. Let's begin with a harsh reality. Women are not drawn to the man who needs them. They are drawn to the man who doesn't. A man who knows his worth doesn't collapse at the thought of rejection. He doesn't orbit around her like a satellite, waiting for scraps of attention. Instead, he is the center of his own universe, solid, grounded, complete. This is where most men fail. They confuse attention with affection, validation with love, and availability with value. But if you're always there, if you're always chasing, if you're always begging for scraps, you don't live in her mind. You vanish from it, because nothing that comes too easily is ever remembered. Now here's where Stoicism gives us the edge. Stoicism teaches us mastery of the self. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." If you want to enter her mind, you don't try to control her thoughts, her feelings, or her choices. You master yourself so completely that your presence speaks louder than words. Women remember men not because they begged for attention, but because their very energy left an imprint. And that energy comes from discipline, purpose, and control. Let's talk about presence. When you're with her, be fully there. Don't check your phone, don't half listen. Don't rush to fill every silence with words. Instead, look her in the eyes. Let her feel your calm energy. Make her feel as though in that moment she is seen and heard in a way no one else has ever made her feel. But here's the key. Once you leave, you don't linger. You don't send a dozen messages saying how much you miss her. You don't overcompensate with clinginess. You leave clean. You let her feel your absence. And this contrast, being deeply present in person and completely detached when apart, is what makes you unforgettable. She will think of you precisely because you're not trying to force yourself into her thoughts. Now let's go deeper into discipline and self-control. Most men ruin attraction because they can't control their emotions. She pulls away slightly and he panics. She doesn't reply right away, and he floods her phone with messages. She tests his patience, and he explodes. But the Stoic man, he is unmoved. He knows that her moods, her silence, her tests, these are external events beyond his control, and because he knows this, he doesn't lose his center. And do you know what happens when a woman meets a man who doesn't flinch under pressure? She thinks of him constantly, because most men are predictable, weak when challenged, desperate when ignored. But the rare man who stays calm, collected, and grounded, he becomes an enigma. He becomes unforgettable. Next, we must talk about purpose. If you want to live in her mind, you must give her something far greater to think about than just attention. You must give her vision. Men who make women their sole mission lose them quickly. Why? Because no woman wants to be the sun in your universe if your universe is empty. A man must live for something higher: his craft, his career, his dreams, his virtue. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." If you live with that kind of conviction, if you wake up every day with direction and discipline, a woman will feel it. She'll see that your life is moving forward, with or without her. And that realization plants you in her mind forever. She'll want to be part of your mission, not the mission itself. And this brings us to mystery. Mystery is not manipulation, it's restraint. Too many men spill every detail of their lives right away, thinking oversharing will create intimacy. But real intimacy comes from discovery, from peeling back layers over time. Share enough to build connection, but not everything at once. Let her wonder what drives you. Let her wonder what you're thinking. Let her wonder what's beneath the surface. Because the mind obsesses over unanswered questions. And if you reveal yourself slowly, carefully, with intention, you will live rent-free in her thoughts. But none of this works without detachment. And here's where most men fail. They love with chains instead of freedom. Stoicism teaches us the discipline of desire, to want without clinging, to love without losing ourselves. If you attach your happiness to her presence, if you beg for love, if you collapse when she pulls away, you've already lost. But when you enjoy her without needing her, when you remain calm even if she leaves, you create the ultimate paradox. She feels free, but she also feels the urge to chase you because she senses that you cannot be possessed. That paradox makes you unforgettable. That paradox makes you live in her mind. Now let's bring this together with real-world examples. Think about the men who linger in women's memories. They are not the ones who begged, who sent 1,000 texts, who folded under pressure. They are the men who carried themselves with quiet confidence, who lived for something greater, who were kind but firm, warm but disciplined. They are the men who left a mark not by demanding attention, but by embodying strength. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, none of them begged for approval. Their presence was enough, and that's the standard you must live by. So how do you start applying this in your own life? Step 1. Master your emotions. The next time she pulls back, instead of panicking, breathe. Instead of reacting, observe. Ask yourself, is this in my control? If not, let it go. Step 2. Build your mission. Write down your goals, your vision, your path. Live for something bigger than her. Step 3. Practice presence. When you're with her, put the phone away, listen, observe, connect. Step 4. Embrace mystery. Share slowly, with depth. Let her discover you like a story unfolding. Step 5. Detach. Enjoy her, love her, but don't depend on her. Keep your strength no matter what. When you do this, something magical happens. She starts thinking of you even when you're not there. She wonders what you're doing, what you're building, what you're thinking. She remembers how calm you made her feel, how strong your presence was, how mysterious your essence is. And that's when you know you've entered her mind. Not by begging for love, but by embodying the kind of man who doesn't need to beg at all. Remember this. The goal is not to control her thoughts. The goal is to master yourself so completely that your presence naturally occupies her mind. That is the Stoic way. That is the path of the rare man. And that is how you enter her mind and never leave. So, to every man watching, stop chasing, stop begging, stop lowering yourself for scraps of attention. Build yourself, discipline yourself, elevate yourself, and let her feel the weight of your presence. Because when you do, she will think of you long after you're gone. Not because you forced it, but because you became unforgettable. That, my brothers, is the art. That is Stoicism. That is how you enter her mind and never leave.